Hi, welcome to Module 3 of CIS 120 Introduction to Databases. So this module is focused on relational model for SQL. And whenever we have a SQL database, relational database, we talked about it in our first and second module. You learned about it from the book. There was no lecture for that. So basically, whenever you have a relational database, that means you have some tables and there is some relationship between those tables, and that's how you actually build your relational database. And then SQL is a language by which you can explore the aspects of relational database, get the information. In this module, we are going to our objectives actually. They are basically the SQL, the structured query language. This is a very well established. I don't say it's old, but it's a well established language, very mature language to find out information from mostly from the relational databases. It is very advanced type of language, and on the top of that, it is very easy to learn. So in this course, you are going to learn in this particular module, you are going to learn SQL language, but you will find it very fun. It's a fun to learn this language. So you will see a lot of aspects of SQL, uh, and then these are the learning objectives. Now, in order to get started with SQL, you don't have to follow all the like specific instructions applicable to access, but if you want to, you can go through this slide and just try to follow that. I'm not going to read the slides literally here because you can just go there and read the slides yourselves and follow that path. But if you use MySQL, then it's not needed. You can do it yourself. I mean, it's very simple. I'm going to show you the MySQL example because that's a open source database, free database and open source database. So you can download it and run it on your own. In a previous lecture, this module, I have shown you how to install XAMPP and then start this MySQL engine or MariaDB engine. Basically, MySQL is transitioned into MariaDB for all purposes. Now, uh, if we go to the next slide, I'm not going through all the details of the SQL, but basically there is a command how to create a table. You know what is a table? Within the realm of relational databases, a table means a file basically in the system, but a table is a representation and an entry in the database that represents uh, a collection of certain records structured in a definitive way, and it contains the unit of information related to an aspect of the domain. So let's say in this case, I mean, how do you create a table? From our previous example, the one we are working on, the the test database that we learned in a previous lecture, you can see that you have a table of table representing a construction company, and they have I like clients, categories, employees. I mean, each of them represent a table. So you can see the table here, and these are the tables. So if you further expand the tables, you will see what is there in the table. So you have the categories table, you have the category names here. So things like that, you can store your information in the tabular way. So the rules for naming tables and columns may vary from one relational database to another relational database. So it's a good practice to avoid spaces or any special characters in table or field names. If a name already has spaces, enclose that field name or table in brackets then if permitted to use upper and lowercase letters, capitalize the first letter to the create the recognizable name. Underscore can also be used to separate words in field names. Okay, so that's the way you have the table. So you can create a table, and I mean for the Microsoft like access data types, I mean these are pretty much common to all databases, but they have different naming conventions from one to another. So for example, let's go to the example we have created. So if you go to the categories, for example, so under the categories, you have the columns. So under the columns, you can see there is only one column category, and that is a Bharkar, means this is a text or character, set of characters. To be more specific, to have more properties like columns, you can see it has one, two, three, four, five different tables, five different columns or fields. First of all, the client ID, this is integer. I'm going to talk about what is pri letter, PRI. Then you have the client name. This is a text, right? Name is always a text. So it's a Bharkar. Then government, it's basically it's an identifier in the client for the client whether it is a government client or not. So it's an integer field and tiny integer. It's a small one digit number, one or zero typically. Then you have the street, the address basically, and then you have the zip code. So if you look at the clients table, it will look like this. So you can see that this first client is not a government client, whereas, I mean, first client is not a government, not the government, but the second one is a government. And again, you will find this one is also government because it is government flag equals one. Okay, so these are the columns of the table, and you can see the data types for the columns. For example, you see here integer. You can have like character. Bharkar is the character. Then you have the government. This is the tiny integer. It is a MySQL, but I mean, these representations vary from one database to another database. It's easy to look up the manual for the database and find out what are the different types and what you want to use there. So that's about it. That's about the tables. Let's move on. So, like here, you can see um, your tiny integer in case of the Microsoft Access, it is yes or no. So I mean it's a different it's the same thing but in little different way. For example, if you can have the text, you can have text or Bharkar. So in Microsoft Access they allow text to be a data type, but in MySQL you have only Bharkar. It's more general. If you use MySQL, you will find it more generalized and it's easy to use. That's it. So yeah, I mean let's move on. So how do you select the data? So the select is basically it is done by the SQL, and SQL is the structured query language. It is basically reflective of English grammar. So suppose you want to go there. I mean, let's go back to our example, and we have the tables like you see here. You have like client table. Say I want to choose the clients. Let's see, let's go to the SQL and let's say I want to I want to select the clients, select the following things for the client like client name, client name, first of all, client name, then let's say I want government, then let's say I have street and I have zip. These fields for the client. We don't need to add anything here. So just you have to do select client name. So it is a column, client name, government is here, street is here, Zip is here. From clients is the table name. I mean, your usage of quotation mark is optional. You can use quotation, you may not use quotation. It doesn't matter. So your query can well be like that. Now, if you do a go now, you will find that all the information, like for example, client name, government, street, zip, the information that we provided asked for here, they are all displayed here. So this is a typical select query. Okay. Now, you can, if you don't put where clause, that means you are retrieving all records for the selected fields. So if you impose a where clause, that means you can filter your output result. For example, uh, let's give you a very quick example. Say you want to show the clients that are government clients. So you can do in this way. So from clients where government equals 1. So if you do that and then if you run go, you will find there are only two government clients here. Okay, so that's how we do the select query. So these are the specific syntax for the access, but uh, we can skip it. If you want, you can just you add it. Now you can have compound conditions, like you can include two different filters, chain two different filters using and or commands. So I mean, example is like this. Say you want to find out, let's say I don't put any criteria. Oh, I'm sorry. So I have to go back to the query box. So select start from clients. So everything we are choosing, whenever you add the star, that means you are choosing everything. Now you put where, let's say we run this query. Let's not need the where clause. Run this query. Let's say you want to choose the clients whose zip code is, let's say, uh, 02446, and their I mean, let's say another criteria, the government client. So we can go there where zip code, zip equals. So we can put like this one, 02446 and government equals 1. So only government client, huh? So if you do that, you will find none. I mean, you find one, sorry, not none, you find one. So you can see and you can see on the XAMPP, actually, they will indicate you which criteria you have used. So this is an example of combining different filter criterias. Okay, so let's go back. You can have the compound condition using the OR criteria as well. So I'm not going into detail. Let us say this query select start from employees where hired date between this date and that date. So in that case, your query will look like this. So in order to run these queries, these simple queries, if you want to choose, if you want to use MySQL, simply where hired date between, you have to put a quotation, either double quote or single quote, 0101 2020 and this one. So if we do that, let's go to the XAMPP. So here it is. So we are talking about the employees. We can say that, I mean, select start from employees where hire date between, let's say, uh, let's go back to the actual numbers so we can see what is happening. 1/1/2020 to 12/31/2020, 01/01/2020, and between this and um, 12/31/2020. If we do that and run the query, press go, and you will see it gives you empty data set. Let's see what is happening here between this and this. So our query was this one, 01/01/2020 and 12/31/2020. Let's see here. Sorry. Yeah, here we are. If we do that, oh, sorry. Yeah, that's fine. 12/31/2020. So why I don't see any employees? Let's see. Let's display all the employees first. See, do we have any 2020 employment here? You see this one. So basically, what we need to do, let's go back to the SQL query box where hire date between 01/01/2020 and 01/01/2021. If I give this criteria, you are still seeing one, none. So your date format should look like this in accordance with how we display the date in the table. So you can do select start from employees, all employees basically, where the hire date is between 2020 01/01 and 2020 12/31. So if we now go the query, run it, you will see that there are some employees that satisfies that criteria. Let's see. I mean, all of them are between the date range that this one. Okay, so that's the way you can put the compound criteria, filter criteria, and also the between operator. Then you can use the not operator as well. So this typical syntax is where not category ID equals coding and per hour or per hour, whatever it is. So not category ID. So it will give you let's say let's go back to the example again. And if we run it like this, I mean this one where not, let's say let's follow the example there. Oh, so uh, if we go to categories table, where not, sorry, categories. So if we just run categories table, let's see what we have here. So you have this one category where equals, let's say, coding. If we could run this, we would see, we should be able to see some coding stuff, right? So let's see what's wrong. Oh, I think this is the capitalized category. So go back to your query box and just do capital category and then go. It's not there yet. So what are the categories, by the way? What are the possible categories you might have? So you have programmer. It's not a coding, is not a category. So let's do that again. SQL. employees where category equals programming or programmer. We'll find out. Let's say, let's run it again. So we have programmer, not programming, where category equals programmer. Okay. So this one, if you run it, sorry, what happened? Sorry, it's not employees, it should be categories. Okay. Now it should be good. So it's a small letter. Probably we have to mention that. And if we run it, you will see again problem. Oh, typo. Category. E is missing. So it doesn't return anything either. So if we run this query, just you will see what is going on here. Oh, okay. That's the one. Coding. Category is a coding. So we can say where category equals coding. Then run it. So if we just look for the query where select start from the clients where zip equals this one, we can say zip not zip equals this one, then all the zips will be displayed that are not that particular zip 02447. You see 02446, but you won't find 02447. Okay, that's about it. Similarly, you can go through the all those different criterias in this lecture and find out how the SQL query works. Let's talk more about it during the office hours where we can go through the details if you have any questions. Okay, so I just introduced you to the SQL queries and please uh, the go through the book and the slides and start working on your assignments and quizzes. Okay, so if you have any question again, reach out to me or let's talk at the office hour. Okay, thank you. Talk to you soon.